In the last video we created a backend for our user authentication, and in this video we're gonna make frontend for it. We will make a login and register pages in our client app and we'll connect them with our API. So let's start. In the client, in the pages folder, we will create another page. Let's start with register, and here we will just create an HTML JSX markup for our title. Let's do it h1 register, and for the register form itself we will create a separate component that we will reuse for login too, because that will be basically the same form. We will just ask our user for email and for the password. So here let's just make this user form component and we will create it here. For the more convenient experience with our forms, we will use library React Hook Forms. I think that's the name. So I will leave the link to the documentation for this library below the video as usually. I like this, so let's install it. We'll go to our client and run yarn. Here they have npm, but we will use yarn. And now let's go to the example. We have the very basic example here. Let's just copy it to our component. We copied markup. Let's copy these hooks as well. So let's import our useForm hook, and you see this function onSubmit is hard-coded here, but we will pass it from our parent component, from our register or login page, because we will have different onSubmit functions. We will call different APIs, so this part will be different and everything else will be the same. And let's create an interface for our props. And again, data is any for now. And now let's start our front end and let's take a look how does it look now. And let's start our backend as well. Everything is up and running. Yeah, it is complaining about our user form, but we will import it right now, and we will pass onSubmit. Let's now pass just an empty function that does nothing. And yeah, now we need to actually add our page to our roots in the app TS6 where we have our router. We will add another page. It will be register and it's gonna be register here. So now we're just typing /register and we see our super basic form. I want to add some styles because I don't like how it looks now. I will use again just predefined CSS from our Tailwind. You feel free to do whatever you want with this form, and I'll just copy paste styles for our inputs. And I will add some more of HTML, G6 markup. It's div, it's label. email, and same on the other one. Just gonna be password. Okay, it's a bit better now, and let's add a wrapper for the entire form, just to keep it a bit more together. And yeah, I think now it looks acceptable. Just let's replace this input with our button. What was it? Handle submit, unsubmit. So we can just copy this thing here. Click and yeah, looks good. We even have some predefined value here, but we don't want it. I think this is default value. Let's delete it. Now when we got our form ready, let's just fix our title. I do not like these styles of this H1. I will again copy paste it from Tailwind, and if you are feeling lazy to write your own style, you can just follow my example and just copy from the repository on GitHub. I will leave the link below the video, so you can just go find the component and just to copy paste these styles to make it easier for you. So now it looks good, and let's create our API request. We have here API request for photos, and let's create a user here, user.ts, and let's move these to constant. Do we have here some kind of config types, utils? Let's create another folder, constants. And here we will create API and just export this. And here we're gonna just import it, and I will copy paste this stuff. Don't need image interface. And now let's just again copy paste one of these to our user, and let's change. It's gonna be register user, and data is gonna be email and password. So let's get rid of this. It's gonna be just email string password string as well. And our URL for creating a new user, we can check it here on the backend. I forgot what was this. It was just register. Okay, fine. And everything else is the same. We just pass our data to the API, and now we can just go to our register component, and let's delete this. We don't need that. And here we will create a mutation. So register, use mutation, register, and then our callback. Let's import everything what we need. Okay, it doesn't want to import register, maybe because I forgot to export. It was register user, I see. Okay, so I'm gonna import it, and here it's gonna be on success. So on our success, we're going just, I don't know, console log something, whatever we're getting here. Console log something, let's say register is successful. So now when we have got our mutation, we just need to pass it here. So let's create a function on submit where we are getting data, and actually I will copy this as a separate interface. We have our types here, so let's create another file, types user types, and let's create interface user data, let's see, and copy it here and export it. We're gonna just import it here, and then everything we're gonna do is just register, mutate, data. Yeah, I forgot the arrow here. And this on submit we are passing here. And in our user API, we also want to replace this with user data. And now let's try what's going on here. Will we be able to register? Let's enter some bullshit email and submit, and we're getting missing required. Yes, of course, I forgot to do something with our form, because we need to pass our username and password, and instead here we're having our example and example required fields. So here we need to replace, here it's going to be email, and here it's going to be password, and they both are actually required. So let's copy it here, and let's also add an error message, errors, password, and errors email. Try to validate it, and you see we're getting an error. We can style it better so it looks more like an error. Let's say color it to red color, and now let's register with some email and password. And what's again wrong? What we're passing here, email password, and it says, oh yes, it says because we need to change, let's change in our env local. Let's add this React app API URL, and let's point it to our remote server, because our local server doesn't work very nice with these variables here, because serverless offline obviously has some bug, and I don't want to change it back and forth to the hard code. So let's just restart our front end, and let's try again. Let's just enter some email and password, and you see it's 200, and we registered successfully with our user, and now we are going to create a login. We will just reuse the same form. Let's just copy our register page. It's gonna be login. Now we'll rename it to login, and this one as well. And here we also change everything to login, login user. And let's add it here. Login, here login user, not just login. And let's change in our title and add it to the router. And let's test again. We'll go to login, same form as you see, same email and password, and we're getting 200. So here now you see we are getting our access token, ID token, refresh token, and some other stuff. What we're gonna do now is to save this stuff in our cookies to be able to reuse it with our next requests, private requests that we will create in the next video. So now let's install a little library for our cookies to be able to handle them easier. This library also based on hooks and very convenient to use. This is React cookie. So let's install it. And now in our login page, in this mutation, we will parse it, and then here we're gonna set our cookies. We import the hook use cookies from our library. We are getting from it our cookies and set cookies, just the same as use state, you know, set cookie it will be, or cookies, doesn't matter. So now here where we are getting our data, what we're gonna do is to destructure it. You remember what we're getting there? We're getting access token expires in, so we can just destructure it. So what was that? Access token, we need expires in as well, and I think we need the refresh token. And now set cookies, set cookie, refresh token, gonna be refresh token, and then access token. And we're going to set options, expires, and this is it, I think. Okay, it's not exactly this, expects are a date, but we want just to pass amount of seconds or minutes, whatever. Let's check what we need. Use cookies. Yeah, so it's max age, maximum age instead expires in. Yes, that's gonna be better. And now if we will log in to our application again, we can go in the DevTools to our application, to our cookies, and if we expand it a little bit, and I'll zoom it in, so you can see we're getting here two values, refresh token and access token, that are saved to our cookies and will expire at some point. So we can use them for our private requests, and we're gonna do it in the next video. So stay with us, follow along, and don't forget to like and subscribe.